Now I gotta ride or die.
So guys, welcome back to the channel. Today you join me from the driver's seat. The 2000 Polo GTI, the 6N2 era of the mighty GTI. Now, this thing has got 170,000 miles on it. Yes, this little car has that mileage on it. But we're going to get into the video now. I'm going to find some B-roads, go and enjoy this thing, see what it's all about. Because when I was younger, when everyone was buying 106 GTIs, I never saw these. I saw one that someone bought and it was very expensive at the time. They have dipped, and now, in my opinion, they've started to go back up. But make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. But onwards to the B-roads. We're interrupting today's video to give a massive thank you to today's sponsor, Yes Auto. Yes Auto is the one-stop shop for buying any car, with an experience that's always easy and enjoyable. Navigating onto the website, you can select each brand that you want to look at, each model, and even down to colour variant. You can also select through the images, as well as looking at brand new cars in 360 degrees inside and out. I myself spend a lot of time just looking at cars for sale, so it's awesome to jump on the Yes Auto website to have a look at cars for sale. You can even do a smart search on new and used cars with an option to select cash price or monthly costs. Their aim is to make car buying easy and enjoyable. Yes Auto are the one-stop shop offering a simple, impartial way to configure and compare new and used cars from almost any manufacturer, with a whole load of clever tools and media content for total reassurance. Once again, a huge thank you to Yes Auto for sponsoring today's video. There is a link in the description to the Yes Auto website. Thank you so much again to Yes Auto for sponsoring today's video, but let's get back to the action. Now, this is not standard, I will point that out. It is very loud. Very loud indeed, and as you can see by its stance, it is sat on FK coilovers and some BBS replica wheels, which I am not a hater for because I did it many moons ago on my Golf. I think it looks good. Every VW looks good low on a set of dishy wheels, but the fundamental reality of me driving this car today is the fact that there isn't many of them around. They are not underrated, I wouldn't have thought. Yes, they are relatively capped in their performance, especially when they were, you know, new 1.6 litres up front, driving those front wheels, about 125 brake horsepower through this car. It wasn't fast in the sense that, you know, a 106 GTI of the same era was fast for what it was because it was light. This isn't as light as that is, but it means it's safer, which is always a good shout. The reality of driving this car now, there wasn't many of these around way back when. I don't remember people really lusting after and buying them a lot. That moving on means that they have become not necessarily a cult icon. I think they will be at some point. The 6N2 Polo, you know, naturally aspirated, manual, small little car. It went under the radar, I think, and not a lot of people bought them or, you know, really wanted one. I think VW knew that. That's why, you know, when the 9N came out, they didn't do a GTI variant of it, or of a variant of the GTI in that era that, from my knowledge, if I remember correctly, they didn't do a GTI after this GTI, and then subsequently the 9N3 they did a GTI 1.8 litre turbo variant, and that's a real shame. And I think VW knew that at the time. I think they knew that the sales of this weren't as hot as maybe the Mark IVs of the same generation. You know, they went insane, the 1.8 turbo and the 2 litre GTIs in this era of VW. Golf went absolutely ballistic, but the Polo didn't. Was such a shame. This then means that there isn't many in circulation, and today, this is a 21-year-old car, I could find one for sale. Now I always try and talk about, you know, prices and the availability of these cars, and the one I found today was around 1,800 quid, I think, and it needed quite a lot of work. It was, you know, 130, 140,000 miles. That's the reality of this car. You are not going to be able to find one of these for a good price, low mileage, and that's a bit of a shame. Because obviously, you know, when these cars come out and not a lot of people want them, that factors on into the market years later, because as we sit today, they're really hard to find a nice one. I've looked for, you know, quite a while actually looking at these. The Lupo GTI of the same generation, yes, it seemed to be a more expensive car, not new, but they seem to be, again, today, harder to find than pretty much any other GTI variant VW from this generation. And I have a feeling, and I've said this in previous videos, especially, you know, of hot hatches that are going to be worth some money at some point, I believe the 6N2 Polo GTI is going to be one of those cars that is going to go up in price very, very soon. That means, in my opinion, the prices will go up. I've already seen these go from, you know, 500, 1,000 pounds. The last really nice variant of this one, you know, low mileage, around 60, 70,000 miles with a good service history, was 4.5 grand. You've got to be a special sort of person to want one of these for 4.5 grand in 2020, 2021, because you've got to really like this car for what it is. And that's the reality of this thing going up in price. I do feel like, and I know there's going to be people out there in the comments who are like, no, you're full of crap, it's never going to happen. But I didn't think that with 106s. I didn't think that with Lupo GTIs, and, you know, the same sort of cars like the 172s of this generation. It's all going up in price, and I do feel that this is, again, at the bottom of everybody's minds, but it's a car that secretly is getting up in price, or if not getting up in price, it's getting harder to find. They're rare for what they are, these cars. And yes, that is down to the, you know, relatively no numbers from the factory. Again, not a lot of people bought these, and that is a shame, because they drive so well. It's not going to be fast enough to rip face off, don't get me wrong, it isn't that car, but it's a small VW car with a little bit of a spicier engine in it. And yes, I know you drive fire-breathing 5 million brake horsepower cars. This is a little bit more laid back. Yes, the exhaust system is relatively loud on this thing, but yes, this is on coilovers and wheels and all this sort of stuff. It is so rewarding, it's so much fun, and when you drive newer stuff that is so heavy and so powerful, driving something like this is back to basics. And yes, at the time it wasn't a basic car, it was, you know, all the amenities you could ever want. This one's actually got heated leather seats all round with working heating, everything down here. It's got electronic climate control, cup holders. It's such a nice place to be as well. All of the plastics and stuff are still very nice today. You know, everything is really nice quality for what it is, considering it's, you know, the lowest spectrum of VW's range at the time. The Polo, you know, other than the Lupo, was the smallest car. The only way I can really reflect on this video is that I've recently driven, and if you guys would have seen, the Up GTI, and I got that same sort of experience, that it was a bit more of a back to basics sort of car, where it was a little bit lighter. It wasn't all the power in the world, but that's not what you want in a car like this. And looking back, when I used to hear people say, oh yeah, Polo GTI 6N2, it's not very fast, I sort of always go, oh, that's a shame. Oh, I thought it was going to be faster than that. It's a 1.6, because at the time, you know, going back, you know, 12, 13 years now, 1.6 was a quick car. You know, if you had a 1.6, hello, you knew what you were talking about. That was fast. Nowadays, you're subject to 400 horsepower cars day in, day out, and it's really nice for me to jump in something like this, knowing that it is a little bit more, again, back to basics, a little bit simpler. And I'm a huge fan of these, and I wish I'd have bought one when I was young. I'd have absolutely loved it. So, ownership side of this car, the owner of this car is 20 years old, and he's paying £1,200 a year. He's got 2 years no claims on his policy. Don't think that's too bad. I do, again, remember horror stories of these being incredibly expensive to insure at the time, you know, way back when, over 10 years ago, let's say. Fuel costs around £53 to fill this up with super unleaded, and you'll get around 280 miles to that full tank. Buying one, again, sort of already been through that. The only one I can find today is around 1,700–1,800 quid for an over 100,000 mile one. If you can find a good one that's relatively cheap, you know, sub 2 grand, say, you're onto a winner. Again, They're going to go up in price, mark my words. People laughed at me when I said 186 GTIs were going to go up in price, and they're getting out of control. So this is another one of those cars that is just going to get more and more expensive as the years go on. Or if not expensive, they'll be more sought after, and sought after means the prices go up. Taxing, as I come up to a lovely red light, tax is around £150 a year. I tried to find how many were left on these on the road. Very vague. It says like 2. I don't believe that. I've heard somewhere, I did look on forums, there's about 173 of the black ones ever made in the UK, or at least on the road still, something like that. But again, leave some comments below, let me know what your thoughts are on the rarity of the Polo GTI 6N2. It's just nice, as I'm sat here, I've got OMP steering wheel in front of me, yeah? Everything still works though. 170,000 miles and everything is just like, everything is nice. And that's really hard to find a car that is high mileage, that has, you know, been around the block, been space, whatever, but something that is actually like well put together. It's sometimes hard for me to jump in a car and with, you know, that sort of mileage and not feel like it's done that mileage. VW products disguise their mileage really, really well. This is no exception. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel below if you haven't. I'll see you all on the next one.